Last weekend, my boyfriend embarrassed me in front of his friends, broke up with me at a restaurant, and left me to pay the bill alone. As he walked away, he loudly said, "A girl like you should be thankful I even dated you." I stayed calm on the outside, but inside I was completely crushed. The next morning, I woke up to 13 missed calls and messages from friends asking if I was okay. I kept replaying the whole night in my head, wondering if it really happened. Sadly, it did. My maxed out credit card and the melted ice cream on my couch were proof enough. I had been dating Ryan for 2 years. We weren't just casually seeing each other, we had routines, family dinners, movie nights, and even tried random hobbies together. I honestly believed our relationship was serious. We had even talked about moving in together someday. Of course, he had flaws. He left his socks everywhere, used his phone during movies, and often made comments about my looks. He would say things like, "That outfit makes you look bigger," or maybe try a different hairstyle. I ignored those comments because I thought he was just being honest. Looking back now, those were warning signs. Last Friday, Ryan invited me to dinner with some people from his job. He had never included me in his work life before, so I was excited. I bought a new dress, spent forever getting ready, and tried hard to look nice. The restaurant was one of those fancy downtown places with tiny portions and no prices on the menu. Ryan was already there with 2 co-workers, Leonard and Pablo. The moment I arrived, the atmosphere felt strange. Instead of greeting me warmly, Ryan looked annoyed and said, "You're late." I was only 2 minutes late because parking was impossible. Then he looked at my dress and said, "Oh, you wore that." His friends exchanged awkward looks, and I instantly felt embarrassed. For the next hour, Ryan barely included me in the conversation. Every time I tried to speak, he interrupted me or corrected me. When I mentioned something about my job, he laughed and said, "She doesn't really understand how the real business world works." That hurt. I've worked hard to become a store manager, and he acted like my career meant nothing. Things got even worse when one of his co-workers asked how we met. I started telling the story, but Ryan cut me off and joked, her friend felt bad for her, so she introduced us. Everyone laughed while my stomach dropped. I excused myself to the bathroom because I was close to crying. While I was in there, I checked Instagram and saw that Ryan had posted a photo tagged Boys' Night Out as if I wasn't even there. When I returned to the table, the jokes continued. Ryan mocked my food order, made rude comments about my body, and acted like humiliating me was entertainment. Then the bill arrived. Ryan picked it up, looked at it for a second, and slid it across the table to me. At first, I thought he was joking. Then he said, "I don't think this relationship is working anymore." I stared at him in shock. He continued, "I'm not attracted to you anymore. We should break up." Right there. In the middle of a crowded restaurant. In front of his friends. I asked him if he was serious, and he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and said the one thing I'll probably never forget. "A girl like you should be grateful I dated you this long. You're not exactly a prize." Then he and his friends walked out laughing, leaving me alone with a $347 dinner bill. I somehow paid for everything with my credit card and made it to my car before completely breaking down. I called my best friend Vanessa, crying so hard she could barely understand me. She immediately came over with ice cream and wine and stayed with me all night. While I told her everything, she suddenly got quiet and started asking questions about Ryan's job. Finally, she admitted something shocking. Ryan wasn't the successful marketing executive he always claimed to be. According to Vanessa, he was actually an assistant at his company. He wasn't leading projects or getting promoted. Most of his stories about work were exaggerated or completely fake. The important presentation he bragged about? He only helped make the slides. I felt sick. For 2 years, this man lied about his career, his success, and probably many other things too. That night, I went through old messages and photos, and suddenly so many things stopped making sense. Then around 3 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Cody from Ryan's office. Vanessa gave me your number. There are some things you deserve to know." And that's when the situation became even crazier. A few days later, I finally checked Instagram because I knew Ryan would probably post something annoying. Of course, I was right. There he was posting a gym selfie with the caption, "Level up. Know your worth." The audacity honestly made me want to throw my phone across the room. That evening, Vanessa came over with takeout and found me wrapped in my blanket like a depressed burrito. She had been incredible through all of this, making sure I ate real food, listening to me repeat the same story over and over, and never once saying, "I warned you," even though she clearly had doubts about Ryan from the start. While we were eating, Vanessa showed me some messages from Cody, one of Ryan's co-workers. Apparently, Ryan had been telling everyone at work that he broke up with me because I was clingy and constantly talking about marriage. Which was ridiculous. Ryan was actually the one obsessed with future plans. He even had a Pinterest board called Future Home Ideas. He once claimed it was for a work project, which now sounds completely insane. Then came the real shock. Cody told us Ryan wasn't only lying about his job title, he was actually in trouble at work. He had been taking credit for other people's ideas and was close to getting fired. All those late nights he claimed were important meetings were really him trying to fix mistakes before management noticed. And those business trips? Completely fake. I was still trying to process all of this when my phone rang. It was Tina, Ryan's mom. I almost didn't answer because the situation was awkward, but Tina had always been kind to me. She remembered my birthday, asked about my life, and genuinely cared about me. She sounded confused and asked if everything was okay between me and Ryan. Apparently, he had told his family we had a small argument but were still together. A small argument. The man publicly humiliated me, dumped me in front of his friends, and left me with a huge restaurant bill. I tried to stay polite and simply told her we were taking some space. Then she casually mentioned Ryan's birthday dinner on Saturday and said everyone was excited to see me there. I nearly choked on my food. Ryan had told his family I was still coming to his birthday dinner. Not only that, but he apparently hinted that we had big news to share. After I hung up, Vanessa stared at me like she couldn't believe what she had just heard. "Is he delusional?" she asked, "or just a compulsive liar?" Honestly, I was wondering the same thing. That's when we came up with a plan. I wasn't going to disappear from his family's life without explanation because they had always treated me kindly. But I also didn't want revenge or drama. I decided I would simply attend the dinner and let the truth reveal itself naturally. The next day, I met Cody for coffee. It was a little awkward at first since we only knew each other through Ryan, but he turned out to be really nice. He confirmed everything Vanessa had said and added even more details. The team Ryan claimed to manage was actually just him and 2 interns. The big presentation he bragged about? He wasn't presenting at all, he was only controlling the slideshow while his boss spoke. Cody also admitted he always thought Ryan's stories about me sounded strange. Ryan constantly complained at work that I was high maintenance, when in reality I had been paying for most of our dates because Ryan was always between paychecks. Now I realized that probably meant he was terrible with money. Halfway through coffee, Cody got a message from his boss asking him to come into work Saturday evening for an emergency project. He was annoyed because he already had plans. That's when I had an idea. What if Cody stopped by Ryan's parents' house during the birthday dinner? The timing could be perfect. While we were discussing it, my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan, his first message since humiliating me at the restaurant. "We need to talk about what happened. I might have overreacted." Might have overreacted. Cody almost spit out his coffee laughing. "Overreacting is getting annoyed because someone is late," he said. "Not humiliating your girlfriend of 2 years in public and leaving her with a $300 bill." I ignored the message. Over the next 2 days, I started preparing myself mentally. I went through old texts and realized just how many lies Ryan had told me. Fake work conferences. Made-up co-workers. Photos from business events that were actually copied from the company's website. Friday night, Vanessa came over to help me choose an outfit for the dinner. Part of me wanted to show up looking incredible just to make Ryan regret everything, but we decided the better choice was something simple and classy. I picked a black dress Ryan once claimed made me look average. Funny enough, every time I wore it, other people complimented me. Looking back now, I think he said things like that to make me feel insecure. That night, I barely slept. My mind kept racing with questions. What if his family believed him instead of me? What if this whole plan backfired? What if I froze and couldn't say anything? By Saturday morning, I had imagined at least 20 different disaster scenarios. Then around noon, Ryan texted again. Looking forward to seeing you tonight. Wear something nice. My parents are excited. I still didn't reply. That afternoon, Vanessa helped me get ready and tried to calm my nerves when I started doubting myself. At 5:30, I finally got into my car and started driving to Ryan's parents' house. At one point, I had to pull over because my hands were shaking too badly to drive. I sat there for a minute doing breathing exercises from a meditation app one downloaded months ago but never used. Part of me wondered if this was a terrible idea. Maybe I should just block Ryan everywhere and move on like a normal person. But another part of me knew I deserved the chance to finally speak the truth. But then I imagined Ryan sitting at his birthday dinner, probably lying to everyone about our relationship and making himself look like the victim. That thought alone gave me the confidence to keep going. I arrived at his parents' house around 6:15, intentionally a little late because I knew it would annoy him. The driveway was already full of cars, which meant the whole family was there. I checked my makeup in the mirror, took a deep breath, and walked to the front door. Ryan's dad opened it with a huge smile and pulled me into a warm hug. The house smelled like Tina's famous pot roast, and for a second I felt genuinely sad. I really liked his family, and I knew this would probably be the last time I saw them. Then I walked into the living room. There was Ryan, holding a drink and laughing with his cousins. The second he saw me, he froze. Clearly, he never expected me to actually show up. For one brief moment, pure panic flashed across his face before he quickly covered it with a fake smile. He walked over, gave me an awkward hug, and whispered, "You actually came. We need to talk privately." I smiled sweetly and replied loud enough for everyone to hear, "Of course I came. I couldn't miss your birthday, especially after you told everyone we had big news to share." The color immediately disappeared from his face. His mom got excited instantly. His sister looked suspicious. His dad started joking about weddings and grandkids. Meanwhile, Ryan looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. He grabbed my arm and tried pulling me toward the hallway, but right then Tina announced dinner was ready. Perfect timing. We all sat around the dining table while Ryan nervously watched every move I made. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed with a text from Cody. "On my way. 15 minutes. Ryan leaned closer and whispered angrily, "What are you doing here? After what happened at the restaurant?" I smiled again and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Oh, I just thought your family deserved to hear what happened at that restaurant." The panic on his face was honestly unforgettable. Dinner started awkwardly. Everyone tried acting normal, but Ryan kept interrupting conversations and throwing nervous looks at me every few seconds. Tina kept things moving by asking about work, family, and future plans. Then she mentioned how proud they were of Ryan's big promotion. I almost choked on my water. Ryan immediately jumped in, talking about how his team was doing amazing and how his boss trusted him with important projects. He kept using fancy business words that sounded impressive but didn't actually mean anything. His sister Kayla noticed too. She gave me a look across the table like, "Is he seriously making this up right now?" Then Tina brought up the big news Ryan had hinted about earlier. Ryan nearly dropped his fork. Before he could answer, his grandma casually asked, "So when are you two moving in together?" Apparently, Ryan had told his family we were apartment hunting together. That was news to me. The closest we ever got to that conversation was joking about sharing a Netflix account to save money. Trying to distract everyone, Ryan started bragging again about his job and mentioned having a company card for business expenses. That's when I decided to push things a little. I casually smiled and said, "Speaking of business dinners, Ryan took me to a really expensive restaurant last week with his co-workers Leonard and Pablo." The second I said their names, all the color drained from his face. And then the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. Tina opened the door and suddenly said, "Oh, Cody, what a surprise." Ryan looked like he might actually faint. Cody walked in carrying a folder and apologized for interrupting. He explained that Ryan needed to sign some work documents before Monday. Ryan immediately tried guiding him back toward the front door, but his dad insisted he stay for dessert because family and co-workers are always welcome here. Cody sat down beside me exactly as planned. Ryan was gripping his fork so tightly I thought it might snap in half. Then Ryan's dad casually asked Cody about the huge presentation Ryan had supposedly been leading. Cody paused for a second before carefully answering. He explained that the presentation went well, but their boss had actually presented it while Ryan helped with support work. The room went quiet. Ryan's dad looked confused because that wasn't the story Ryan had told them. Then I asked, "What about Ryan's promotion?" Poor Cody looked trapped between telling the truth and protecting his coworker. Ryan nervously laughed and tried changing the subject, but his sister wasn't letting it go. She looked directly at Cody and asked, "What exactly is Ryan's job title?" The silence after that question felt painfully long. Finally, Cody cleared his throat and quietly said, "Ryan is an administrative assistant in the marketing department." Nobody spoke. Ryan's dad slowly put down his fork. His grandma made a shocked little sound. Kayla muttered, "I knew it." Ryan instantly started trying to explain everything away. He claimed Cody was confused and said his role was complicated. But at that point, nobody believed him anymore. His family started asking real questions, and Ryan's entire web of lies slowly began falling apart right there at the dinner table. Ryan couldn't talk his way out of the questions his family started asking. "When did you get promoted?" He hadn't. "Why did you tell us you managed a team?" He didn't. "What about the private office you said you had?" Also fake. With every question, more of his lies fell apart. The whole time, Ryan kept staring at me like this was somehow my fault, which only made me more determined to tell the truth. Tina, trying her best to calm the situation, suggested everyone relax and have some birthday cake instead. But before she came back from the kitchen, Kayla looked directly at me and asked about the restaurant dinner I had mentioned earlier. That was my moment. I took a deep breath and told them everything. I explained how Ryan invited me to dinner with his co-workers, insulted me the entire night, dumped me in front of everyone, and left me alone with a $347 bill I could barely afford. Ryan tried interrupting me several times, but his dad stopped him with one sharp look. I had never seen that expression on his face before, pure disappointment. Then Ryan tried defending himself. He claimed I was exaggerating. He said I embarrassed him in front of his co-workers because I didn't fit in. He even tried saying leaving me with the bill was supposed to teach me financial responsibility. His grandma actually laughed out loud at that excuse. Cody, who had stayed mostly quiet until then, finally spoke up. He confirmed everything I said and admitted Ryan had bragged at work about putting me in my place. Then he pulled out his phone and showed messages from Pablo talking about what happened at the restaurant. Actual proof. At that exact moment, Tina walked back into the dining room carrying the birthday cake. She looked around at the tense silence and asked what was going on. Nobody answered at first. Then Ryan's dad quietly said, "We need to have a serious conversation about honesty." That's when Ryan completely lost control. He exploded. He accused me of ruining his life, called Cody a traitor, and shouted that everyone was jealous of his success. What success? He slammed his hand on the table so hard that his water glass tipped over. Then he pointed at me and yelled, "A girl like you should be grateful I even gave you a chance." His mom gasped. His grandma muttered something under her breath that was definitely a curse. His sister just shook her head like none of this surprised her anymore. Somehow, I stayed calm. I looked at him and said, "The only thing I'm grateful for is finally seeing who you really are." Ryan stormed out of the house, slamming the front door so hard that one of Tina's decorative plates fell off the wall and shattered. And then, everything suddenly became quiet. The strange part was what happened next. Instead of asking me to leave, his family asked me to stay for cake. So there we were, me, Ryan's coworker, and his family sitting around the table eating birthday cake without the birthday guy. Honestly, it should have felt awkward, but somehow it didn't. After dessert, I helped Tina clean the kitchen. She kept apologizing and saying she had no idea Ryan had been lying about so many things. She seemed heartbroken, not just because of what happened to me, but because she realized her son had become someone she barely recognized. I honestly felt bad for her. No parent wants to discover their child treats people badly. She quietly asked me if there had been warning signs before all this. I admitted there were probably red flags, but I ignored them because I wanted to believe Ryan was a good person. Before I left, Ryan's dad pulled me aside. He thanked me for being honest and apologized for his son's behavior. He looked exhausted and disappointed, like he was wondering where things went wrong. I told him none of this was his fault. Ryan made his own choices. Cody offered to walk me to my car, probably realizing I needed a minute to process everything. While we walked down the driveway, he admitted Ryan had been having problems at work for months. He had been stealing credit for other people's ideas, lying about projects, and even faking emails from clients. Apparently, he was already close to getting fired. Suddenly, everything made sense. Ryan had built his entire personality around pretending to be successful. The lies, the arrogance, the constant need to feel superior, it all came from insecurity. For a tiny second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I thanked Cody for supporting me and drove home feeling emotionally exhausted but strangely relieved. It felt like finally taking off something heavy you didn't realize was weighing you down. When I got home, I saw 3 missed calls from Vanessa asking for updates. Before I could call her back, my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. "You ruined everything. This isn't over." I didn't reply. I blocked his number, made myself some tea, and sat quietly on my couch. Honestly, I wasn't even scared anymore. I was just tired, and maybe a little proud of myself for finally standing up to him. I truly thought that was the end of the drama. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to 13 missed calls from Ryan's mom, his sister, Cody, and several numbers I didn't recognize. Something had happened overnight. And judging by the panicked voicemails, Ryan had completely lost it. My stomach dropped the second I looked at my phone. There were missed calls everywhere. 5 from Tina, 3 from Kayla, 2 from Cody, and 3 more from numbers I didn't even recognize. The voicemails from Tina all sounded panicked. Every single one was some version of, "Sabrina, please call me back as soon as possible." I called her first. She answered immediately, sounding exhausted and close to tears. Apparently, after Ryan stormed out of his birthday dinner, he completely lost control. According to Tina, he spent the entire night drinking and blaming everyone else for what happened. Around 2 a.m., he showed up at another woman's apartment, an ex-girlfriend I didn't even know existed. He was drunk, yelling about how I had ruined his life and destroyed everything. The poor woman got scared and called Kayla to come pick him up. But that wasn't even the worst part. Ryan had spent the whole night sending angry messages to almost everyone we knew. He texted Cody threatening to destroy his career, which honestly would have been funny if the situation wasn't so disturbing considering Ryan was already close to losing his own job. Then he started posting dramatic things online. He uploaded a long Facebook rant about betrayal, fake friends, and snakes hiding in plain sight. It sounded like the kind of speech a movie villain gives right before disappearing into the darkness. But what really scared everyone was a message he sent to Pablo. In that message, Ryan shared my address and wrote that he was going to make me pay for humiliating him. Thankfully, Pablo immediately sent screenshots to Tina instead of encouraging him. That's why everyone had been trying so desperately to reach me. I sat on my couch wearing old pajamas with my hair still tied in yesterday's messy bun while Tina apologized over and over for her son's behavior. Honestly, I should have felt terrified. Instead, I just felt exhausted. Like emotionally exhausted in a way I can't even explain. It felt like my brain had been running on 1% battery for days. Tina insisted on coming over to check on me personally, which was sweet but also caused me to panic clean my apartment at record speed. Nothing motivates cleaning like knowing someone's mother is about to see how you actually live. I was throwing clothes into closets, wiping toothpaste stains off the bathroom sink, and shoving random junk into drawers when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Tina wasn't alone. Kayla was with her. They brought coffee and pastries from the bakery near their house, which honestly almost made me emotional because those pastries were one of my favorite things about visiting Ryan's family. We sat around my tiny kitchen table, the one with the uneven leg I'd been meaning to fix forever, and they explained more about Ryan's behavior. Apparently, this wasn't new. According to Kayla, Ryan had always lied to make himself seem more impressive. In college, he told people he was on the baseball team even though he got cut after tryouts. He once bragged for months about dating a girl who apparently barely knew his name. There was a clear pattern. Ryan created fake versions of himself because the real version never felt good enough to him. While they were talking, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends were texting me screenshots of Ryan's dramatic social media posts. Vanessa was begging to come over with her boyfriend for protection because she watches way too many crime documentaries. Our group chat was exploding with confusion over Ryan's vague angry posts online. Then the doorbell rang again. For one horrible second, I thought it was Ryan. My whole body froze. Kayla looked through the blinds and sighed with relief. It was Cody. Apparently, Ryan had been blowing up his phone too, and Cody wanted to warn me in person because Ryan had mentioned coming to see me. So there we were on a Sunday morning. Me, Ryan's mom, Ryan's sister, and Ryan's co-worker, all sitting together in my apartment trying to figure out how to deal with a grown man throwing a complete meltdown because people finally discovered he was lying. Honestly, if it hadn't been stressful, it would have been almost funny. Cody also mentioned that their boss already knew about Ryan's online meltdown because screenshots had started spreading around the office. Apparently Monday at work was going to be a disaster. Kayla admitted she was worried Ryan might completely spiral if he lost his job too. Before anyone could say anything else, the doorbell rang again. This time it was my building manager. He looked deeply uncomfortable. Apparently, Ryan had been downstairs in the lobby demanding access to my apartment. When the manager refused, Ryan started yelling loud enough for half the building to hear. The manager threatened to call the police, and Ryan finally left, but not before screaming insults about me in front of everyone. Tina looked absolutely crushed hearing that. She kept apologizing and asking herself where they went wrong as parents. I honestly felt bad for her. Imagine realizing your adult son has become the walking definition of a red flag. Kayla, being the practical one, told me to save every message, screenshot, and voicemail in case Ryan's behavior got worse. While we were discussing what to do next, my phone buzzed again. Ryan had tagged me in an Instagram story. Everyone told me not to open it. Of course I opened it anyway. It was an old photo from early in our relationship where I had fallen asleep on his couch with my mouth slightly open. The caption said, "Miss Perfect isn't so perfect after all." Then underneath it he wrote, "A girl like you should be grateful anyone even took pictures of you." Honestly, I stared at it for a second, and then started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. Out of everything he could have done, his big revenge was posting an unflattering sleeping picture from 2 years ago. If that was the worst he had, I knew I'd survive this. Then suddenly there was loud pounding on my apartment door. Everyone jumped. A second later we heard Ryan yelling from the hallway. "I know you're in there. Open the door." His voice sounded slightly slurred. Cody immediately stood up like he was ready to confront him, but I was already calling building security. One benefit of paying too much rent is fast security response times. Ryan kept pounding on the door and shouting while neighbors started opening their doors to see what was happening. By the time security arrived, Ryan had moved from yelling to actually kicking my door. The security guard didn't waste time. He warned Ryan to leave immediately or the police would be called. There was a lot of shouting in the hallway for a minute, and then suddenly everything went quiet. A few minutes later, the guard knocked softly and told me Ryan had left the building but was still sitting in the parking lot. Tina was beyond embarrassed. She insisted on going downstairs herself to deal with him. Eventually, Ryan's dad had to come pick both of them up because the entire situation had become too much. After they left, the apartment finally became quiet again. Cody and I just sat there silently for a minute trying to process the insanity of the morning. Then he finally asked, "Do you have any wine?" Honestly, it felt like a reasonable question after everything that happened. We opened a bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion, and I decided surviving emotional chaos counted as one. Later that evening, Vanessa came over and stayed the night just in case Ryan came back. Thankfully, he didn't. We ordered pizza, watched terrible reality TV, and tried to process how my life had somehow turned into a full drama series overnight. Over the next few weeks, things slowly settled down. Ryan ended up getting fired after missing several days of work and sending inappropriate emails to co-workers. He moved back in with his parents for a while, though eventually he left to stay with relatives in another state. Kayla and I actually stayed in touch after everything. Surprisingly, she turned out to be really cool, and now we occasionally meet for coffee. Ryan tried contacting me a few more times using fake Instagram accounts and random phone numbers. Some messages were angry, some were emotional, and some weirdly acted like nothing had happened. I ignored every single one. The strangest moment happened about a month later when I randomly saw him at Target. I was shopping for shower curtains when I looked up and saw him standing in the aisle holding a pack of socks. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept properly in weeks. For a second, I thought he might approach me or start another argument. Instead, he looked away, abandoned his shopping basket, and walked out of the store without saying a word. That was 3 months ago. Since then, his social media has gone completely silent. According to Kayla, his parents finally stopped financially supporting him until he agreed to get therapy. As for me, I'm actually doing okay now. My apartment finally feels peaceful again. I rearranged the furniture, got rid of things that reminded me of him, and slowly started feeling like myself again. And weirdly enough, one of the most unexpected parts of all this was becoming friends with Cody. No, we are not dating even though Vanessa keeps trying to make it happen. We just send each other dumb TikToks, grab lunch sometimes, and laugh about how insane the whole situation was. It's nice talking to someone who witnessed the chaos firsthand and understands why I now have trust issues the size of a country. Looking back now, I'm not just angry anymore. Mostly, I'm relieved. Relieved that I found out who Ryan really was before things became even more serious. Because honestly, if I had moved in with him or built a future around all those lies, escaping would have been so much harder.